It's been a very long, strange road for the Shovel Knight franchise. Originally started as a Kickstarter by Yacht Club Games, the expansions and post-release support concludes with the final collection added to the treasure trove, which includes Shovel Knight, the King of Cards, as well as two other kind of multiplayer-esque games. But King of Cards marks the final bit of story DLC, and stars the very mysterious King Knight, which is kind of a weird contradiction name right there. And as with the previous expansions, fleshing out the stories of Spectre Knight and Plague Knight, the King of Cards does a good job of kind of adding more to the story. This time focusing on how the King Knight here became ruler of his own castle, despite not really being a king at all. And with some brand new and probably very polarizing game systems, this is another very interesting addition to the game. So, the first basic idea of King of Cards is that we play as the King Knight with his own moveset. While Spectre Knight did with a lot of kind of cutting with his scythe and a lot of air and high speed movement, Plague Knight was more about using his bombs to propel himself. King Knight is about using his shoulder tackle, which transitions into that kind of spin move as you saw right there. The spin move allows him to hit enemies that are directly below him, and when he bounces off an enemy, he can continue doing another shoulder dash. And this is used to give him his own kind of sense of platforming, which is made use of in his own stages. In terms of the levels of King Knight, they are a lot shorter compared to his contemporaries, but there are a lot more levels in this one. While the levels themselves will follow through in the similar environments as we saw in previous expansions, they've all been redone and enhanced to basically play more into King Knight's movesets. Medals are hidden in each stage, and one in the game's new Psy mode, which we'll come back to in a few minutes, and they are used to acquire his own set of gear. And as for the other characters, they are designed to either give him more utility, or be used to unlock bonus areas, or make things a little bit easier for him. And all of the platforming sections have that same charm as the previous games. Again, if you're hoping for the kind of complexities of Spectre Knight or Plague Knight, King Knight doesn't go that far. But the DLC definitely adds a lot more in terms of the story of the area, and this again is expanded upon with the more focus of individual shorter levels, as opposed to fewer longer ones. But with that said though, it's time to talk about the elephant in the room, or I guess the dragon in the room, and get to the King of Cards' major new feature that is probably going to be its most controversial, and we'll talk about that after a quick word to our current Game Wisdom supporters and sponsors. And now a quick shout out to our current Game Wisdom supporters and sponsors. All Patreon supporters will now get early access to our videos, and if you'd like to continue this discussion on game design, be sure to check out our Discord channel, linked down below. King of Cards' most polarizing new system is the Joustus deck building game. It plays very similarly to Triple Triad from the Final Fantasy games, and this becomes kind of the essential theme that runs through King of Cards as the main reason for King Knight trying to go out and essentially become a king. The cards themselves can be found, bought, as well as be unlocked as you play. You build your deck out of a set of 16 cards, as you can see on the right. The cards themselves come with various arrows on them that dictate where they can push other cards. If two opposing arrows are basically connected, those cards can't be pushed normally. You'll find as you get further into the game special rules on either the field or cards that can do specific things, such as nullify the arrow effect, explode certain objects, or even just have no arrows and can be placed wherever they want. And the general gameplay works similar to that kind of Triple Triad style. Both players will play cards one at a time to try and take the gem, or gems, depending upon the field that's on the table. As you can see, as you're pushing the cards around, you can basically take them out of play if you have the right cards or get lucky in terms of field placement. The cards that you get are randomized out of your deck, and that will cycle through it as you play. When all the inner field is filled with cards, you win. And when you win, you're able to take a card from the opposing deck. If you completely win, as in you have all the gems on the field in some of the later rounds, you can actually take all their cards. And this is your way of building your own deck up. With the later enemies that you'll fight, you'll start to run into them having kind of specific powers. The Black Knight returns as a Joustus boss, who can destroy a row with his fireball attack. And the game definitely has its own unique set of elements to it. And it is a very interesting idea to kind of take the route of deck building and put that into the role of exploring the world or using your money and other options to do it. If you get stuck, you are able to buy actual cheats in the game to kind of help you out, and they can be played in any battle that you want. The game also features puzzles and also side missions involving Joustus, playing with characters who are either following you around or doing their own thing. And as you play through the many worlds of King of Cards, you'll start to see more advanced play, new card types, and new board challenges to go along with it. And you can tell that Yacht Club really spent a lot of time on this mode. The problem though, I'm not a huge fan of Joustus, and like I said at the start, this is the King of Cards' most polarizing system, because it is a major element of the entire game. You'll earn additional medals that can be used to unlock new features by winning Joustus matches. But the problem is that unless you are really into this mode, it can become very frustrating to play. The first issue is that because you start each match with 3 randomized cards, it can completely affect the entire strategy of that play. As you can see, because of how cards are laid down, which determines the next run or the next turn and so on, a very bad opening hand pretty much spells disaster for you. Now, to make things worse for players, if you lose a match in Joustus, the enemy will randomly choose one of your cards and will take it, permanently knocking out of your deck. But you can go to the store, which is available on King Knight's own personal airship, to reclaim that card at the expense of gold. The problem with that system is that it creates just unnecessary dead time, as most players are going to just Alt F4 or quit the game before they lose their card, and going back to the ship and spending your gold is just added time that's not really necessary for this kind of game. And that's kind of like the overall problem that I have with Joustus. It is big enough that you can't necessarily ignore because the entire game's story and many areas are built on it, but it's not really like deep enough to give you a lot of value. Not in the same way as subsystems in other franchises like Disgaea, or even in the Final Fantasy games and JRPGs. And I know there's so many people who really enjoy Joustus, both as a game they can play on their own, or as a diversion from the platforming. But for me, it just felt like it was getting in the way of really enjoying the rest of the King of Cards. And I was more into this for the platforming and King Knight's unique kind of movement tech that he has. If you're looking for something again that's on the hard side like the previous expansions, you're not going to find that with the King of Cards. And that may be disappointing to some, that the final bit of story DLC for Shovel Knight is kind of on the easiest side. But with that said though, this is still an all-around good game, and if you want to ignore Joustus and just play it for the platforming, you can certainly do that as well. And again, there are the cheats that you can buy. But with that said, we're going to wrap up this first look here. So again, With the King of Cards, we are officially done with the story content promised by Yacht Club Games, and I guess our tale with Shovel Knight has come to an end. I do wish them the best of luck going forward, and I can't wait to see what they have next. And thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games. And if you'd like to submit a game for me to take a look at in the future, please don't hesitate to get in touch. But once again, this has been Shovel Knight, the King of Cards expansion, and I will see you all next time. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed things, be sure to do all the liking and subscribing that the kids are doing these days. Check out our Discord channel linked down below, where we hang out and chat game design, and come back later tonight for our regular streamings. But that's it, and tune in for more great content here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games.